Okay, record. Okay.
So you guys are always about the process of being creative and really more in the moment. But today, let's look at some results. I know Leyden is in Architectural Digest this month, a feature article, and that is, that's huge. That's like, is there something above that? I'm really rough on myself. Like, I will get something, something that had been a far off goal, and maybe, it happens, and I give myself a day, and then it's like, well, I gotta get even higher. I got to get this next thing. It's like, the carrot and the stick. Are you a carrot and a stick person, or are you really able to just enjoy this level?
Yeah, I think, I appreciate the question. Yeah, I mean, Architectural Digest, let's just be very clear in my mind, is like, it's such an institution in my business, and the world at large, for being the editorial magazine for design and architecture. So it is certainly a major accomplishment. There's no question. But I hear what you're saying, and I think I would be able to have a different experience. I'm not going to say enjoy or not enjoy. I'm not going to put those polarities up, but I would say the social media, which I think you can appreciate, is another part of it, which is you always kind of feel like you have to feed this thing more content than you actually have inside of your spirit, that I have inside of my own spirit at any given time. So, it's like the self-promotional part of it can be a little taxing, but this is bliss. I have been working my entire career, and, I just want to also say that I recognize I'm on Elle Decor's A list, and not to create a hierarchy, but it's just different. It is a different publication. It has a different reach, and it just speaks to a different audience. And I'm really, it's a new project for me. A lot of my projects that had happened in the past was kind of existing projects that got shot in some other context and were just being placed in editorial. So this was actually created, shot, styled, everything for Architectural Digest. So it's really exciting.
How do you really feel?
Yeah, feeling good. Trying to keep my head right sized.
And today,
basically, every musician wants to get their picture on the cover of the Rolling Stone. I see it as the equivalent of that.
100%, absolutely.
And today I am going to do the introductions. Today's co-host is Lauren Bergman, who's an amazing painter, and her paintings are in the background there. She can talk about her work a little later. I also happen to be married to Lauren, so it would be great. It would be great if we both got out of here alive today. And our guest today, our conversation, it was Leyden Lewis, who has gotten into Architectural Digest. To me, it is amazing. It's like just one of those milestones, one of those destinations on the road to wherever you're going. And yeah, we're all about results. Results. We're all about process in this podcast. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about results. And even though we're a new podcast, we're sort of mixing it up real early on in the process.
Lauren, thank you so much for coming in and having this conversation with us. It's actually setting up something that we really wanted to do, which was be in conversation. And like, I have so many questions to ask you about your own work, even though in theory, this is supposed to be directed towards me in conversation, but I have so much to ask you.
Well, I'm just honored that you wanted me included in your, now you're a celebrity.
How does it feel to be a celebrity? And Leyden is actually hanging out with celebrities these days. So.
Oh yeah.
We
I'm
won't
trying
mention, we
hard.
won't mention names.
We won't
but-
mention names until they've mentioned them first. Yeah.
Right, so so where we go from here, guys?
Well, you guys talked about celebrity. I don't necessarily, I don't know what a celebrity is supposed to feel like, but I feel popular.
Yeah.
I feel popular this
So
over the last week
here's
and a half.
here's my process question then. You
Sure.
you got this. You're an Architectural Digest. The layout is amazing. What is the title of the?
It's labor of love. It's kind of amazing that we got titled. It's a renovation. It's a home renovation for Malene Barnett, the founder of the Black Artists and Designers Guild, a personal friend of mine, and also the article really features her and her amazing ceramic artistry and mastery and craftsmanship around this installation in her home, but also the other work that she's been doing and how it all got incorporated into the space, which is really a reflection of her. We talked about it as being a portrait of her and a reflection of Black joy in space.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And when you read it, though, you are mentioned a lot as being collaborating with Malene.
Well, the vision, yeah, the layout vision is just breathtaking. I can't imagine what it's like to be in that space because the 2D images are just incredible. Just, your daringness almost in mixing pattern and color and the way and texture. And it really is like living in a painting.
Mm.
And, an art installation, multifaceted.
Yeah. What can I say about that? There was this discussion that Malene had been having for years around I want to make, she referred to it at that time as tiles or some sort of ceramic, because at that point she's been through, so many different stages of her artistry, has taken so many different forms, textiles, ceramics, so on and so forth. So, but she'd been talking about this, and then finally, when we had this opportunity, it just all spilled out into like me curating and thinking about the scale of the space and what that installation, what are the segments? It's almost like your puzzle, Lauren,
Yeah.
right? Like what is the scale of the puzzle going to be in relationship to the room size and scale? And Ed Letterman has gone away and came back, and then of course there's the installation, but then we talked about her dancing every place, and she and I danced together, and we also danced this kind of Caribbean, we just dance in our Caribbean native, winding up and jumping up and down. So they needed to be the space needed to also be beautiful, but it also needed to be available for humans to occupy the space, and not just be a sitting room.
And I wanted to comment on that, like there's no element of sterility. There's nothing in it. I go through so many design magazines, interior, and there's always kind of a coldness or a feeling of it's not lived in, it's
Right.
not, whereas that space, I felt like I wanted to get in there and dance.
Yeah, no, well, I can't wait until Malene's. We're planning some activities and some jump ups and some food gathering and some breaking of bread in that space in the late spring. So we're definitely going to have you, because I'm Ashok, who took the photographs, is amazing, but again, it is photography. Like
Right.
being in the space has a completely different sensory stimulus than us looking at just the pages of it, or it in print, or through our viewfinders on our computer. So it's like it really is about being in the space.
Yeah.
And my question, it's really funny because the three of us really are solo workers.
Right.
we have our own way of doing stuff. We like to hold on to that control really tight sometimes. And all three of us have started collaborations with different people. Lauren has started a collaboration. She could talk about that. What is it like for you to collaborate? What are the sticking points? What are the points that really work out well?
Well, then I'm going to answer this question, then I want to turn it back over to the both of you to answer the question. Really, like, I want to turn it to Lauren and ask her. Egos, right? Egos are incredible things to work with and make and play with, like Play-Doh. So like sometimes questions were being asked from an egotistical place, like from the ego, like, this is what I want, this is who I think I am. And then there was this process of things revealing. For both of us, it was a dance that way. I think honestly, if that can happen while it was happening with Malene and I just thought, I just want this to happen in all my life, in all my relationships, and with all of my clients. Like this kind of like, okay, I trust you, and you heard, you took in everything that I said. Like, that there's, in a collaboration, everyone has to be responsible, right, for their contribution, and so the other person could play off of it. And I think we did a pretty good job there. But Lauren, like, talk to me about your collaboration and how are you collaborating?
Well, basically, I'm a painter, and I've been working on a series of paintings where I found archived images of young women and girls who were murdered in the Holocaust. And I'm using the black and white photos. That's all there is. There's very little information. All that's known is date of birth and date of death. And in doing a painting of them, I'm giving them kind of whether it's a dream or a great moment, imagined. I don't know what their hopes and dreams were, but I can give them something.
That life.
Yeah.
It's a moment of life.
It's a moment of life. And,
but I think
so the collaboration is with a composer, very renowned, wonderful woman named Ella Milch Sharif. She's Israeli, and the Boston Symphony just played one of her pieces. I don't know what you call it, a whole musical composition. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
in relationship, the Boston Symphony, in relationship to your image, to the image
no,
created,
this
or just totally separate?
No, but that's her level of
got it,
mastery. So we met and just immediately connected, and she wanted to collaborate with the project. And for each painting, she's done a musical composition, an orchestral piece. And so there is this element of trust, because I know nothing about music composition, and it's almost like I felt when the first compositions were coming out that they so interlaced with the paintings that it just became, if I painted the vision, she painted the whole sound experience of the work. So yeah. So fortunately, there was nothing to butt heads about, and it's ongoing, and it's just mind-blowing because it's something I never imagined. And and it just takes the work to a whole other realm.
Right. Yeah, no, I would agree with that statement that we were we both to your point, we both stayed in our lane. We both definitely stayed in our lane, but we did, I think we did definitely, it was her personal space where, I think sometimes people may forget that architecture and interior design is are service industries as well as they are artistic and creative ones, that we're making a space for someone else. They're not standalone like a painting. So they have to be used, which makes them design rather than art. Yet her art lives within this space to be used. So it's interesting. Ed, I feel like I cut you off, or you got cut off.
No, not at all. No, I'm going to give the other side of that, because I know you guys have to have challenges in that, but I'll talk about my challenges. So I've been a solo guy. I've been the lone wolf photographer going out. I don't even most of the time hire assistants, even when I could use them. Once in a while I do. And I decided a few years ago that I was going to start collaborating with everybody. That everything I did was going to be a collaboration. And it is challenging as mother effer as could be. And so and I'm sure you guys have had that experience. You rub up, Leyden and I collaborating, right? Is it all, it's 90% roses, but every once in a while, Leyden will give me a call like,
I have to say that there are other people involved in the project at this point. That yes, because it's become like a bit. There's Ella and I who are the creatives, the painter and the composer, but then the people around doing administrative stuff, and
they have a team like you wouldn't believe.
But that becomes like, I think we're both kind of like
be kind, honey.
What we envisioned originally.
Right. And not at the sacrifice of being misinterpreted or something like that. But Ed, I want to ask you, like, how do you think, I think you said 90%. Well, I would challenge you. I think we have 100% days, and then we have 40% days. Right. Like we totally like, so I would, it's my challenge working with you, particularly in terms of collaboration, is just respecting everybody else's process. You know what I mean? That I think that's is like, because because you're putting the relationship actually before the collaboration.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, if this, I cannot sacrifice my friendship over this collaboration.
Right. My survival mechanism basically is just to take over. And when things aren't going well, it's like, okay, just go ahead, do it the way you've done it for 40 years and plow on.
That could be a problem. That could be a problem sometimes. when two people are trying to do something together. Just FYI on that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Collaboration is what's interesting. It brings up stuff. And I'm collaborating with a photographer and videographer. What's amazing is we've all expanded our scope and our vision of what we could possibly do and what's possible. And we're each working with each other's clients, which expands our business also, and also expands our creativity as we learn from each other. So, I mean, collaboration, I wish I knew about wasn't so scary early on in my life, because I would have tried it earlier on. But, I went a lot of years because I enjoyed it so much. I got really in that comfort zone of not like looking outside of that. And then looking back, I sometimes said, oh man, if I had just done that years before.
I agree. I think I'm, just being a part of a community, but I want to ask both of you a specific question. Excuse me, I'm scared of claiming. Lauren, you said that she painted a picture with the sound.
Yes.
right? Oh man, it's so beautiful and so poetically said. I mean, clearly you're meant to be a creative. Like even if I never saw a painting, that those ways you combine the words. But I'm also wondering how I want to ask both of you, how have your collaborations influenced your individual practice now? Like did you take that sound painting and take it with you when you started another painting solo by yourself?
Well, that's interesting because I actually do listen to Ella's music, not just the composition
Okay.
for this, but I will play her music in the studio, and it can bring me back to that initial, when the project was brand new and so exciting. Not that it's not exciting now, but now it's, 3 years in and it's not, but listening to the music can evoke those early, just bright, white excitement feelings.
Nice.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about it, because I got to see it at the very beginning, and believe it or not, even though we're married, our creative paths do not cross that often. Would you say,
Okay.
Laura?
No.
Yeah.
You agree with Ed?
No, well, we were talking about how I used to ask Ed to photograph the paintings for me.
No, man,
that was
you're gonna get divorced now.
and it was,
It was not a good idea.
No, bad idea. No.
Oh, really? It didn't work out.
Did not. No.
Can I ask why? What was your observation? What was something you wanted, but weren't getting?
Don't throw me too far under the bus, honey.
No, making it very vague.
Yes.
That it's something that Ed doesn't enjoy doing.
It's
the type of photography that he would rather not do. So
product photography, basically, like documentarian, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I learned that it is a lot less stressful to hire someone who does that. That's what they do.
Right, which is take pictures of paintings and make them look really beautiful. Right. But Ed, what about you? What did you learn from our collaboration?
Well, I'm going to go back with Lauren's stuff. The one place, as we don't collaborative, we don't really collaborate on we talk about, not only do we not collaborate, our processes are like opposites. And even in doing a jigsaw puzzle.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. We're collaborating on a jigsaw puzzle right now.
Right. So 1,000 pieces. But the one thing that I can say about Lauren's piece is she said the first day, the first painting she was working on, she said, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And I was like my jaw dropped to the ground. I said, this is going to be. What you're showing me is amazingly powerful. I don't know if people are going to hate it or they're going to love it. I really didn't know. I mean, but I knew that it was amazing, and I was so proud of her just for, not even proud. She's just like hit it, and now it's turned into a 3-year project, which would probably be a 6 to 10 year project.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
So when I saw it on the screen the first day, the fact that now it's 3 years later and it's like 25 paintings in and is sort of spectacular to see. And and in terms of how it happened, just real quickly, I'll talk about our collaboration later in a minute, is that this is a life lesson for everybody. I'm telling you. Lauren was at Mana Studio in New Jersey. And she had no windows. So she used to keep her door open all the time. And a filmmaker walked into her studio and said, "Oh, you paint such happy pictures." And, compared to everybody else at Mana who are artists. And then he saw the pictures of the young girls, that they were from the Holocaust. And that's how the project actually started. He said, I got to have you meet the
So
person.
it was just
who
like synergy. It was literally synchronistic. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
well, there was the film studio, they had their makeup room, prop room across the hall from me. And just having my door open led to a great connection.
He just
That's
walked
amazing.
in, right? He just sort of said,
He would look in, and then I invited him to come, see what I was doing. And that's when it hit him, because the paintings are shown there's the painting, and then beside it is a small print of the actual image, the historical image.
Interesting.
so on the, you got a question? I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a very intimate thing. I think artists, I do have to say I'm a bit sometimes jealous in my fantasy about what artists do. And that you run your own complete show. Do you know what I mean? Like that you actually, well, I will, hear me out. It might not land exactly where in the truth, but like that's my fantasy. That's why I said it's a fantasy, because I just wanted you just to hear about, again, like this little girl, like that's an intimate thing. Like this one picture of this little girl, how does it relate to you? 70 some odd, 80 years after the Holocaust has ended, how does that all work for you emotionally, I guess?
Well, it's a response to the hatred and intolerance that's just rising up all over the place.
Right.
Really, what was the trigger was that march in Charlottesville, Virginia, where the KKK was marching through town and with their tiki torches and chanting, "Jews will not replace us," which, and just and at the same time, the migrant children were being separated from their families, and George Floyd was just murdered in front of our eyes. So, it really is a response to what happens when hatred is let loose.
Mm-hmm.
What's the ultimate result?
Yeah. And trying to, like, I guess in some sort of a way, I wouldn't even say heal. I don't know, like it's a response, but there is a healing component.
Well, it's a call to empathy, a call to, see the person.
Well, that's actually what I love about your paintings, is that not only you see the person, and I'm a little more, what I see in it, sometimes I see life as a simulation anyway, is that—
You see what life as a simulation?
So, sometimes we're just going through this. And so I really feel that they have been giving a life back. And not as a simulation, but that maybe we have an afterlife. I can't prove it, I'm not sure, but in case we do, I feel like they were given a piece of it. When I see the paintings, I see them having gotten a little piece of their life back.
Well, it's so I don't know I don't think I've ever been to a Jewish funeral service, but certainly in the Black tradition, this idea that you're not, the person hasn't left us.
Right. You're not
right. We this, it sounds very corny, but you're actually magicking it into reality, which is their essence still lives on. And like in so many different ways for you to then start to paint with this kind of imagined essence or whatever you project it, whatever, I don't know how you frame it, but I think it's beautiful.
Well, I think we universally, we have the great need for our loved ones to be remembered.
Yes.
You know, like in all these recent, you know, killings and school shootings, and, you know, the primal cry of those hurt is say their name.
Right.
Remember their life. You know, and maybe in saying these names, there's a change, like hopefully there's an energy that goes out when you remember someone who was killed unjustly, when there's great injustice, just
Right.
acknowledging and standing up against it.
Yeah, I think yeah. I'm going to give Ed a chance to come in here. Ed.
Does that mean you're not sure what to say next? Oh my God.
No, I do. I don't.
Go for it.
I know. Quite the opposite.
Okay, let's hear what you have to say.
Well, we came a little full circle for me. You know, sometimes when I start this podcast, I'm, you know, and you know, like there's that part of it, and then there's like nervousness, and there's all these different feelings, and so. You know, take it, you know, I love, it's almost like hearing myself practice singing. And then sometimes, you know, Lauren, myself, and you have hit a note, you know, I could hear it actually within the podcast. And so I feel like we came full circle around this idea of the dancing and the Black joy. And you said something, Lauren, which is like, you know, I think one of the things that is so real about this article for me and so real about documenting anything from memory is that is to feel, you know, I don't know whether it's, I don't know, legacy seems like a big word, but this idea of like memory and remembering us in a particular way. So one of the things you said, Lauren, about capturing them, or they're creating an energy by saying their name, also, like, this is really important work for me, like to understand like that I am now changing as a participating Black designer in this industry. I am changing the terms by participating, you know, and being a Black person in my industry.
Well, one thing that I wanted to look at and ask you about in the Architectural Digest article was you use the term, you design with ancestral memory, which I think speaks to this whole topic that here you are at the pinnacle of a design career, but you're speaking with the voice of the history behind you.
Yeah.
And you're designing with those, like visually, you are creating space that addresses the contributions and the creative elements of
an eye, just an eye, like a trained eye through the. Yeah, I think, you know, as I mentioned to you today, it's a little bit of a tough day. It would have been my mother's 83rd birthday today. So I was like, oh, what's going on today? So you know, just keeping it real here on Mad Creative.
Your mother's birthday and my birthday are one day apart, by the way.
I know. Happy birthday, Ed. Happy birthday. My dad was last week on the 11th.
Oh my, a lot of Pisces running around.
A lot of Pisces.
It's just a real quick note. When
Yeah.
when I first met Lauren, which happened to be in a coffee shop, she said my birthday. I said, "Oh, you're one of my 3 best days to meet someone." I said, "Oh, all right, here we go."
Is that true, Lauren?
according to this one astrology book that does pairings, that I had happened to be giggling at the beach with a friend the week before,
That
looking
March
at
18th is a good day for you.
March 20th.
March, oh,
March-
tomorrow's your birthday.
No, March, yeah.
March 18th to 21st, I think
Right.
it was.
Right,
Are
and Laura,
my ideal astrological day.
and I'm thinking she's got,
You
and
know,
I'm
I
thinking, yeah, I'm
happened to
thinking,
have been looking at that book at the beach with a friend, and then the next week we met, and his birthday was one of the best days.
That's fantastic.
yeah, well, my thought was, I don't think she's gonna say no if I ask her out to dinner. Who's gonna turn down a best day, you know?
But I want to
So
get
you were
back.
having that day when
Okay.
you met.
I want to get back to
Yeah,
the
okay.
Okay.
ancestral memory talk.
Well, the you know, again, like well, yeah, that it was a good diversion for me not to feel feelings. For sure. You know, my mom would have been 83 today. I think about what you're saying, and yeah, just being able to, so much about the space that I remember as a child or through my life has been in these moments where we're eating and we're dancing, probably gossiping about other family members, you know, doing that thing that families do together in units, in pods. And so, you know, just thinking about my mother, like my mother and in that, just eating, dancing, and laughing for a Trinidadian, that's what I understand Trinidad is. I don't know anybody who doesn't like to have a nice big roti in their hand full of curry and like with a drink in their hand of some sort and laughing and making like there's an active participation in making other people laugh. Like there's a consciousness around that to me.
Yeah.
From someone from Trinidad and from my family. So so you know that I carry that through in the house, in the design of the house. We want, you know, I mean, can attempting to make other people smile all the time be a service? You know what I mean? Like, could you figure out a way, like, I'm gonna make finishes and we're gonna apply things, we're gonna compose things together that at their on their worst days you're gonna get a little smile at a finish, or touching something, or going upstairs to a surface or something that'll make you smile.
No, nice, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, does that make it, being a creative, can you, like, I know I could turn my day about by just being a little more creative, pulling up my camera. For you guys, for Lauren and you, does that change things at all? Like,
What do you
all
mean?
of a sudden, just starting your practice of being creative, if you start working on stuff.
I'll let
Lauren?
Lauren answer that.
Yes, in that when I'm working, it's just the work. I'm not thinking about, you know, whatever's causing the bad day. I can get into, you know, just the space of flow where it's just, you know, not outer body experience, but just, you know, doing it, plugging ahead without.
Yes.
And don't interrupt her.
Thank you. Right? Yeah, no, it makes sense.
How about you, Leyden? Does your
I have to be very
practice-
conscious. You know me in many dimensions, that I have to be very conscious to go, okay, Leyden, stop it. Like I actually have to put a stopper on the shadow speak that comes in my head.
Oh, that's a good term for it.
You know what I mean? I have to say, thank you very much. Please go to the back of the seat now. I love you very much. But Leyden, who has to get stuff done, has got to take over. And I think, you know, that's changed for me over the period. You know, I learned from Ed the most radical thing I had in my, possibly one of the most radical things in my adult life. Is just like, you're telling yourself a story. And I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean a story? My pain is real.
Yes. Yes.
What the F are you talking about? Like it's a story I'm making up. No, it's not, and I was very resentful at first.
I hear that.
I was very resentful at first. But then I started to do like the practice of changing your mind.
Right.
Right. And I think that's what Ed I think is leading us in this conversation a little bit, like how to change your mind in that moment by engaging your creativity in a particular way, or some practice that gets you closer to more to your creativity rather than in your the voices that are coming from within the house,
Yeah, well, it's, can you change the day, and will the day change the next day, and will change the story, and will that change your life? It's,
and I think, it's so true, and Ed is so good at recognizing, what's spinning, and just saying, that's just your own made up story.
right.
And just not comment any further. The one area where it really doesn't apply, I think, is grief. Grief is not a story that I think can be labeled as, your feelings about whatever loss you've experienced. That's a different journey. You can't just change that channel.
No. I agree with you 100%. And actually, I'm excited to talk to you about it, and both you and Ed. Like, for me, I think that's the place where people accept other stories. Like, oh, no, that's not hurting me. No. I actually feel like it's a counter story that gets played out sometimes when people are not allowing themselves to feel and experience grief. Like, I grieve many things. I grieve older selves from yesterday. Not, it doesn't have to be like, 40 years ago.
Right.
Like, I'm grieving 2 months ago stuff. So that's an interesting place. And I feel like that, I don't know, when I hear people talk about grief, I feel like that makes me happy, and it makes me feel healthy.
Right, because I think in general, with our made up negative voices, those really do need to be kind of shut down, like you were saying, go sit somewhere else.
Exactly.
Leave the
room for a while. But I also acknowledge I love you. Thank you very much. Because I don't want to demonize parts of myself.
Right. That's
so,
wonderful.
Yeah, like, I just go sit down. Like, you've been running the show though for the last 3 days.
But I think grieving voices need
different.
to be coddled, need like nurturing, like.
I'm learning, honey.
But Ed is someone that I know. Ed, I know you, if you don't mind me being personal. I know you very well, I think, as much as someone can get to know you. And that grief subject, that's not one that you tamper with too much. You're not big on emoting.
Well, I think I'm emotive. I don't think that but probably my fear is if I get stuck in grief too long, there's two ways of looking at it. If I get stuck in grief too long, I'll just be stuck there, and that's exactly. That's sort of a made up story. And the other part is having had grief, like getting divorced, losing my dad, is that I always knew that the creative part of me like the creativeness that I have would always get me through it no matter what. That was like the ongoing belief. Because you know what? I could deal with the grief because I know at the end of the tunnel, I will find my way back to, what I have gratitude about. And so being emotive is not probably my strongest space in terms. I'll sort of move. Let's move through this fast. And recently I think I've gotten a little better at it. Just sort of being present to people who are having grief.
Yeah.
And just really listening. But that's a new thing for me. It's not like I'm practiced at it or but just sometimes just like, okay, just sit back, let let everybody just be who they are. Don't try to fix it, because that's, I had such a crazy family. I was always trying to fix my mom.
Right.
So yeah, so just sort of sit back and listening is sort of, the stance I take. So I've gotten probably a little better at it, I would say. Lauren probably be a better judge of
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, but for me, really, it's still, even though we're having this conversation, my mind goes forward. Like I'm thinking about if something happens to me, I know if I pull my camera out, and it may not happen in a day, it may not happen. It's been my best love of my life, not the best love, but the longest lasting, the one that's got me through every little thing that I've ever been through.
I would have to agree with you. I can't not, sometimes I expect for it to come and manifest itself like a burning bush or something, but I think you're right. Like I think it is definitely my go-to, and it might come through me watching another artist's work.
Well,
right. It doesn't have to be I can sometimes get into a really good film that might actually help me open up, or a piece of writing.
Well, the interesting thing is that I've learned a lot from Leyden about just sitting there and grief, and just like everything doesn't have to be okay all the time. And I've learned that from Lauren too. You guys are, you guys are a real vulnerable empaths. So, so that's sort of interesting. And what I like about our chemistry, Leyden, is that we are totally different in lots of ways, and we're similar in ways. We're really different in ways.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that too. And I definitely know when I'm sticking or stuck. Now that you've come in my life, I can tell the difference between grief and being stuck. And I'm stuck in a story. I know the difference. I do know the difference.
The only person I can't tell they're stuck in a story is Lauren. That will lead to a bit.
That
will lead to a really bad day.
Yeah, that's not good. Like Lauren, is that a boundary for you? Like, in other words, like just stay away from that.
Probably
part,
the patriarchal
don't tell me how I'm feeling, kind of stuff.
Yeah, it definitely triggers a part of me that I don't even like to see.
that's how intense it gets. So
right. So no, but you had you had talked about I want to talk to Ed about ancestors. Lauren and I talked about it a little bit in our respective ways. I mean, how does the word ancestry, ancestral, past history, any of those things mean anything for you in your practice today?
Do they mean anything in my practice today? I mean, the fact that I can still hear my mom or dad's voice in me, sure. I mean, that's the part of me. I mean, Lord knows I mention my parents, from time to time, and and I always feel them around, especially my mom, who's just like, very strong presence, and not always a positive presence, but she doesn't mean you love her less. It just means that she was, she didn't want me to be a photographer.
Right.
Maybe my choice to be a photographer was a rebellion, because I moved 3,000 miles away so I could be, if I stayed in New York, I was going to be a therapist, because they were telling me what a poor choice this was.
Right, right.
So, but it didn't make me love them less, but I understand whatever happened to me, I am a bull. You know, not even a bull. I'm resilient at what I do. Like, nothing ever says I'm not going to do this, whether it's the podcast or walking 2,000 miles last year or being a photographer. I just was going to figure it out. And so whatever I think they didn't give me, this is what they did give me.
Right, right, right.
You know, so I have a lot of looking back gratitude for just here. I've been a photographer for 40 years now. And that's a lot, you know, it's still going at it, still loving it, and still creating. I'm creating this podcast with you. And I put together the podcast, and I decided to walk 2,000 miles. And it's thinking, if I could walk 2,000 miles, I could get this podcast done.
And you did both.
The podcast is way harder than the 2,000 miles.
Of course, of course, of course. You don't have to talk to anybody else to walk 2,000 miles.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. I feel like I got a little bit off track here, a little bit.
I have an aside question for you.
Yes, yes.
When you mentioned film, that you can get into a creative space looking at film. Okay, favorite film interior spaces.
Oh, interesting. This came up
Yeah.
yesterday. I think it's so wild. And it stuck in my head. I don't know if it's true for now. And when we have you on in another 6 months, we'll revisit the same question. I think it's Suddenly Last Summer with Montgomery Clift, Elizabeth Taylor, and Katharine Hepburn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think Katharine Hepburn coming down in that, descending in that cage is the wildest effing thing I've ever seen. And I was like, why is she doing that? What is this production of, like, you know what I mean? And so it gets a little bit mixed up. The Pantheon also in Rome.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I walked into that space, and I've never been able to walk into that space again empty. Somehow, I don't know what's going on there now, because I was there this year and it's just a mob. I can't stand it. But going there in 1994 is you know, then for the first time, and just seeing that Oculus in that space, I would thought I was having an out of body experience.
Wow.
Where I was something else had alien and higher power, you know,
Right.
the spirit, something was with me in that space.
How about you, Lauren?
Well, and this is, I don't know if it's springing up to me because the interiors always blew me away. B, that we're working on a jigsaw puzzle. Anyway, there's this film, it's a French film, Diva. It's about an African-American opera singer who moves to France because, you know, she's way more, life is just way easier.
Yeah, and a path is kind of laid out. What is happening in the 30s and 40s or something?
No, this was in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I can't remember her name, but she's a real opera singer in this movie. But it's a kind of a whodunit in, you know, there's a crime where this guy records her. She doesn't allow herself to be recorded, and he makes a recording, but it's stolen and all this stuff. But the mastermind criminal is in this tower outside somewhere near the water in France. And it's like this 10,000 square foot loft space.
Wow.
and he's doing a jigsaw puzzle that's like 20 feet by feet on the floor in this huge, amazing loft space.
And that's your space that that's memorable to you.
Just, yes, it's spectacular. You got to watch the movie.
I have to watch
for
that.
the interior.
I'm going to actually go in a little different direction in that Billy Gerard Frank.
Yeah.
I love, you know, he doesn't do commercial film, he does art film, but everything is about the interior. He's like an interior art photographer. You know, he turns the interior into a piece of art and the life happens around it.
Yes.
And we're going to have him on the next, you know, an episode or two. But and he's a friend of yours from way back when, I think.
Sure.
And I loved watching his movie with all his interiors. I mean, I thought
interesting.
And
that doesn't surprise me. He does. He's very, you know, he has a background in production design, so that does it, you know, and set design. So I think even as a director, you're picking up on something very intuitively. So he's looking at the storytelling through the objects and in space.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah. And I think he was in the Rome Biennial and the Whitney Biennial.
He was in the Whitney Biennale now for the second course. He was in there, I think, in 2017, and then again in maybe there was a biennial in between, and now he was in it for the 2022, representing Grenada.
There you go.
And Grenada Pavilion.
Yeah. So, and if there was a second film, I would pick The Apartment, which was Jack Lemmon, was it, and Shirley MacLaine.
Really? I gotta look at
Oh yeah, just an old New York apartment. It's sort of what I grew up in a little bit. And,
all right.
You know,
I have to take that. I've got a yeah, no, I wanted to say something. I don't know, Krzysztof Kieślowski's films like Red, White, and Blue, like Juliette Binoche. I don't know what he did.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Oh.
Remember that she's taking out this lollipop and sucking on it from remembering her daughter or her son. And the light, I was like, what is going on here? You know, I mean, and that just that blue, and then the reflective light.
Bananas at the beach. There's I can't remember which one it was in.
Like Red, White, or Blue, you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And just these blue cabanas on a deserted beach.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very beautiful film. Very, very beautiful set of films.
I'm going to turn I'm going to take over here and turn the conversation into what inspires you guys in terms of your own creativity. Like, what are your inspirations? Who are your inspirations? What is like gets you going that if other creators are listening at?
That's a tough one because I feel like I just generate, like in the spinning, I generate ideas, and I have more ideas than I have time in this lifetime.
So really,
I need some other lifetime.
But what's interesting, what you're saying is that the spinning, while you were talking about may not be helpful to you, actually has its really a great place for you also.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and that's, I think, with anything.
When it's not negative, I mean, I spin.
Right. Well, I think that's with everything.
There's passive spinning and then there's negative spinning.
Right, exactly.
Right, and it goes back to anything you do. There's a side that is really helpful to you, and a side, just like with my emotion. And when I'm not emoting, what am I missing? You know, what are the things that you're losing in life? So I think that's with everything, that there's a part that is really, oh, wow, you know, this is really helping me here. And if we can start learning those parts, I think it's really helpful. But how about you, Leyden? What are the things that
inspire me?
Yeah, get you going. Like you're just having a regular day and you're like, oh my God.
Oh, that's such a hard one, Ed.
Okay.
Sometimes, because sometimes, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but there's some woman who is like dressed to the nines. And I'm
Nice,
like,
yeah.
what? Again, like she took me out of the normalness and the habitual normalness of life.
Yeah.
And it's like hat cocked, purse, coat, shoes, everything is so tight. And I'm like, damn, girl, you know what I mean? Like, really, it's majestic. So I think that can do that. Like someone who's decided to treat the day in a very special way. That's how I can lead. Like even like my, my studio director showing up and she might be wearing a new coat and it's like she's wearing it with a certain love of herself. You know what I mean? And so that inspires me.
Nice,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I like to witness people.
And I'm sure they appreciate that you see them.
Yeah, I think to go in this lifetime, Lauren, and not be seen, I've struggled with that personally myself. So I try to imbue my day with that.
But isn't that the existential nature of an artist or a creative?
Yeah.
Is that you need to be seen? Not even you, but you need your work to be seen. That is sort of the nature of what we do. If you're not seen, you sort of don't exist. You do exist, but in your own mind, a lot of times, artists, when they're not seen. And I think what Lauren does, Leyden, you and I are seen all the time. We work for other people. We'll do stuff for. Lauren has to wait long periods of time to get that existential experience, I would say.
But that's not what I crave. I mean, I think most artists crave, not attention spotlight, but, for me, it's more of like a rash that itches and I have to create in order to just feel equilibrium.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, that's a very different way. So yeah, no, I think you might also, I wonder sometimes, and I know that there's now so many different genders, but sometimes I think that I wonder if it's male, that visibility. I don't know. I think it does have to do with, and then yes and no, because I know a lot of celebrity women who,
right,
attention spotlight is critical.
The art world and probably the design world is male dominated.
Yeah.
It's actually female dominated now. Interior design.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's more of definitely not design.
Because names I think of are male.
Men.
Anyway,
yeah. But Lauren, you sometimes worry that your work will not be seen, I think.
Yeah, but it's not a motivating factor.
Right. No, you will paint no matter what. This is true.
Right. No, that's, I mean, again,
I wish I had gotten the memo, 20 years ago that there was a game being played. Not only was I not playing the game right, I wasn't aware that there was a game.
It is true. Sometimes, Lauren.
No, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear on that one.
So
yeah. So
what
I think there are many people that 20 years ago that I was showing with and they've parlayed things into giant careers, whereas I was just la da 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 go, I was like in the sandbox playing. I didn't know what was
no, I understand completely what you mean. I understand and I relate.
What's our final questions going forward here, Leyden? What would you? I want a question from Lauren and one from Leyden.
Lauren?
You know, I deal a lot with one voice, especially when great things are happening. There is this voice that tries to take me down by saying, you know, you're just faking, you're an imposter. This isn't, you know, people are going to find out that you're whatever, not talented, not, you know, whatever. And that voice tends to rear its head at the moments when I should really be feeling the best.
I think you're an intuitive. I think you're an intuitive. I really do. Not I think, I know you are. You're an empath. For sure. I think it's a challenge, you know. Yeah, but go on, finish your question.
No, I wanted to know if you have this like here you are, you know, this is like a major breakthrough.
Of course.
Your phone's gonna start ringing off the hook and business is gonna, you know. So what do you do?
I hope all of those things happen, and yet I have to also have a level of detachment and move on and post Mad Creative and build social around that. And like, there's another thing to do, but I definitely, I'm a little hungover from the amount of social media attention around the article, and just thinking to myself, well, didn't we actually already talk about that? Kind of, you know, on social media, this is an echo. It's like an echo, echo, you know, but you know, that said, yeah, I'm excited for, I definitely have experiences like that because it's such a high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Celebrate it. I think
but it's such a high, and I will, you know, I'm trying to get together a little dinner, cocktail, something. You guys will be invited for sure. You're the hardcore of my group, of my life, not even of my group, my life. And I have to celebrate. I actually took one of my best girlfriends and asked her, I said, please, can you please make sure I celebrate this?
Yes, thank you.
That's wonderful.
Like, please, can you help me? Because I know on my own.
Should be your number one.
You know, on my own, yeah. I will. I don't know what it is. I can't, and I don't want to even pathologize it. I will not do what I could do if I didn't like kind of put a peace sign up, you know, an olive branch to say, help, I needed help on this one. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, it's good to surround yourself with people who want to push you up the stairs with them, you know? So,
and not kick you down.
Not kick you down.
Not kick you down.
Come on, we all know people along the road who've done that, especially as creators.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of course. You know, and that's like, you know, bad behavior.
So what's your question, Leyden? Last question.
Well,
I always like to see the curiosity of creatives.
No, I think that you know, you know, one of the things I'm going to hold on to something you said. You were like, no matter what I can come back to is my creativity to manage some part of what I have to deal with, whether it be grief or work through something. So I guess my question is, what's happening now with each of you? Like just a small little nugget. What are you working through? Like one little thing, you know, what are you working through? Lauren?
Okay. Well, aside from the painting, which is really, you know, 99% of my life. No, I take that back because Ed is 99%.
No, that's
there are a lot of 99%. I'm not good at math. But it's spring. Tomorrow is the first day of spring, and I started a vegetable garden last year. And so now I'm like planning, I've gotten seeds for these exotic heirloom vegetables. And so that's my counterpoint to the inner work of painting. I'm really looking forward to going out and growing things.
Well, you saw that picture and that kind of goulash I put together, or not the goulash. What is that vegetable, friend? I got
Yes.
you sent me home with okra and squash and tomatoes and peppers. The most beautiful, like it was kind of ridiculous the amount of stuff you sent me home. But I'm coming this summer to get more.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
I'm so excited.
You sent me home, and it was beautiful, like your individual paintings. Those vegetables are gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. So that's what's happening.
Ed, what about you? What are you working through? Like it is, and maybe a little bit like if it's a block, or you're working, you're pushing right through it.
No, I'm pretty good. Well, I'm working with this cat right here. He came by. Right. We have a beautiful cat. And no, I'm really working on it's funny. If it's not involving my creativity, like I'm like so laser focused on that part that it's hard to get me to do anything else except shovel snow. I love shoveling snow. I clean something about shoveling snow really works for me.
And the jigsaw puzzle.
And the jigsaw puzzle works. But
well,
so there's a whole bunch of other things that, like, in your columns of duties, let's say, as a person around the house or something that you don't want to do.
Yeah, well, Lauren, don't get into it. So there's lots of things I don't want to do. I mean, Lauren comes from a place of organization. I come from a place of chaos, and I'm fine with that. But I don't like, at that age, and I feel the most creative I've ever felt. I'm working on a COVID project. I'm working on this. I'm working on my Central Park project. It's been like 10 years old. And Lauren has seen me. I think Lauren was amazed that I finished 2 of these things this year. And she actually said, let's say 5 things we love about each other one day a few weeks ago. And I thought, what a great idea. And one of the things she said, you finished walking and you got the podcast going, because it's hard to get these things going,
It is.
And sometimes I don't admit how hard they are because I'm such a bull just moving forward. Because probably for me, any sense of doubt will just crush it, So I don't let myself have doubt.
Huh.
And so then, what would be my question to you guys at closing before we end this? What is the thing that is your best practice? Your best practice that makes you really get going and make the day like a full day, and saying, "Oh, I love doing this."
I'm going to say, because I have a wish list of things that I wish that I did,
Right,
that I'm not doing, but getting up and making that first cup of coffee.
oh my God.
Just, I look forward to it when I go to sleep, knowing that in the morning, I'm going to make this cup of coffee and it's going to be delicious and warm and anyway, that's my practice of getting up with coffee.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that a bit. Lately, I've been listening to just like some flout music, some flautists in the morning, indigenous, Native American, indigenous person. Our caller's Nukai, and if I'm really spiritually smart, I'll close my eyes for a couple minutes and breathe, And I
Yeah.
like that combined with getting like, that's the thing that I do to say that I meditated so I can have my cup of coffee.
Nice. That's a good place to end with a little coffee, right?
With a little
Even though
coffee.
I've never had a cup of myself, but so Lauren, what's coming up for you? Give us the whole rundown.
This was so much fun.
Yeah.
You described feeling anxious, excited. I always tell myself the story. It is that I'm not good at interviews, conversations, and I build up this wall that this is going to be so hard. I'm not going to. Anyway, it was great. I forgot to be nervous.
Yes.
Nice.
Good.
How about Lauren? Where can we see your work? Where is it coming up? Give us
You can come up, right now on my website, laurenbergmanart.com. And September, the big launch at Brandeis University.
For this body of work with the
That's just the first place. There's many
of course,
places.
I know. No, it seems like it's going to be iterations and many paintings.
Or around, but yeah, Brandeis in September.
Fantastic.
How about you, Leyden? Besides Architectural Digest.
What's on the list is to discuss with Ed Letterman a cadence to posting and come up with a visual aesthetic for our IG that is, for me, very important and we've got to get visually organized, I think. So it's a little slower than I thought it was going to be, but I think it's and Ed is probably losing his mind, my collaborator.
This morning I did lose my mind.
But at the same time, I know that I trusted myself when I put together a little schematic that
Send it to Lauren, she'll love it.
Yeah, this was the right thing to think about, like not just posting without a strategy.
And when's the Architectural Digest coming out?
Oh, I think if you're first of all, it's online, it's digital,
online.
It's online at architecturaldigest.com, I believe, or Arch Digest, ARCH Digest. And also if you have a subscription, you should be getting the copy this week in the mail, a week before the month begins. It's in the April 2023 issue of Architectural Digest. And
check out Leyden's Instagram. He's
Leyden Lewis Design Studio.
Right, he's on there. His last post was with someone who's pretty well known, and and you can reach me at Ed Letterman Photography or edlettermanphoto@gmail.com, or my website is edlettermanphoto.com and or edlettermancoaching.com. And this was great, guys. Any closing comments, or we're done?
No, I think we're finished.
I think we're done. This was
How do we now? I just got to turn off the record button.